This is Fred. This, I was gonna say Ginger, but this is Olive. And this is the roadmap to success. Now, one of the reasons that these dogs don't listen very well is they don't have a lot of rules and structure. And part of it is because one of the rules I suggested was not allow the dogs on the furniture. Now, we're allowing them on the furniture just for this video. But as you saw, Olive was trying to go up here or up here. The higher a dog sits, the more rank or status they have. And so if we let them sit at the same height as us, we're saying we're equals. We let them sit up here, we're saying they have more authority than we do. So one of the rules I suggested was no rules for 30 days or as long as the problems are still going on, and then only with permission and only for good behavior. Another rule is they have to sit before we let them in or out of a door. And so, yes, Olive, I'll let you. You guys are both being a little aggressive with these, but that's okay. Good motivation is important for all of us. So we're gonna make them sit at the door. If I say sit and Fred sits and Olive doesn't, Fred gets to go out and Olive doesn't. We walk away from the door, we wait 1 minute, then go back to the door and give the other dog an opportunity to sit. If the dog doesn't sit within about 2 or 3 seconds, I walk away this time for 2 minutes, next time for 4 minutes, next time for 8 minutes. So I keep on increasing the length of time until the dog actually does what I want it to do. And as soon as the butt hits the ground, we open that door and let him out. When a human is eating, the dog should not be within 7 feet of the human who is eating. That's very disrespectful in the dog world. It's a way of challenging for food, even if they're not actively begging. And certainly don't feed them any people food. Most people food has onion in it, which is toxic to dogs, and the worst way they can get it is a little bit every day. If you want to give your dog some chicken that you're preparing, just cut the gristle and the fat off when you're preparing the meal, put it in a bowl off to the side. At the end of the meal, give them the raw chicken. They don't get salmonella. And put it in the bowl so they don't smell that they're the same thing that the humans were eating, which is, again, confusing for them. I'd also like the guardians to start petting the dogs with a purpose. Right now, both of these dogs come up and scratch or jump or nudge for attention, kind of like what she's doing with her nose. And if I pet the dog when that happens, then I'm telling the dog that it has dominion or power over me to tell me what to do. Right there, don't let the dog jump up or climb up on top of you. There's nothing wrong with it if you invite the dog up, which I kind of did with the treats. But if the dog climbs up on top of me whenever it wants, it's usually a good indicator that they don't hold us in authority. Touching is a way for dogs to show affection. So a little bit of touching, light touching is okay. If the dog puts its paw on your knee and starts pressing down, or its chin and starts pressing down, that's an attempt to dominate you. You need to disagree with that. Remember, when you disagree or reward your dog, do that within 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, it's hard for them to make the connections. I'd like to, in addition to petting with a purpose, have the guardians start using passive training to reward desired actions, behaviors. So every time the dog comes to us, we're going to say the word here. We're changing it from come. Every time the dog sits on its own, we're going to pet it and say sit. Every time the dog lays down, we're going to pet it and say chill, or what are the words that the guardians would like to use. I'd like the guardians to also keep on using the trick that I showed them to get the dogs to go on the dog bed, and they're using the word beach. Let me see what else. Passive training, we just went over. Use the 4 escalating consequences to disagree. Remember, the first thing is to hiss. Second thing is to stand up and turn to face them. Third thing is to march at them until they turn sideways. And the fourth thing is to put them on a leash timeout. If you forgot what those are, just go to doggoneproblems.com, click on the dog training tips part of the website, and there'll be a search box on this side of the video where I think it's on this side. I can't remember back and forth. But type in what was I just talking about?
Consequences.
Consequences. Type in escalating consequences. Thank you. And you'll see videos where I explain how to do it. We shot the video on counter conditioning and desensitization for Fred. And so make sure you're doing that. We kind of transitioned to bully sticks. I can't remember if we did that on the video or off camera. Bully sticks seem to work a little bit better. It's not as high a value reward, but it lasts longer. Fred did he responded really well with some extra practice. I think he's going to do really well at the home. But since the vet's office is so close, I would suggest calling your vet and saying, hey, most vets, if you have a dog that's nipping or biting at the vet staff or they can't work unless the dog's tranquilized or muzzled, they are very happy to have you come in and use one of their exam rooms. Oh, there we go. Well, you'll get it then instead. And then use the same technique practicing it there. Maybe practice it in the lobby, practice it in the exam room, and then if you only practice in one exam room, make sure that the staff is aware that when you do come in, that's the room that you need. And usually they can kind of accommodate you by planning a little bit ahead. But by creating a counter conditioning effect, the dog looks at having its feet touched as a positive thing. As you can see now, I'm touching his feet, and a little bit of licking, but no real problem, not even stopping. There we go. So it takes a little bit of time, it takes some practice, but eventually Fred should be comfortable with that. Now, because Fred is a little dog reactive, I'd like to have his guardian sign up for our counter conditioning class we're going to start in July, where we'll actually teach him and create a positive association when he sees the presence of other dogs. In order to make that happen, though, we need him to really have the focus exercise down, which is an exercise we went over with the guardians off camera. So make sure you're practicing that at least twice a day for each guardian with each dog. And so that way we're getting a lot of repetition. The more you practice, the faster. Remember, at first it's 1 second, 1 second. Then eventually it's 1 second, 2 seconds. Well, eventually it's 1 second, 20 seconds. And if the dog loses interest, go back a second. If you go from 9 seconds to 10 seconds, and when you get 9.5, the dog wanders off, practice more at 9. And practice that at first with the dogs separated, and eventually get the dogs closer and closer to where we could have them both sitting right here on the floor and we're doing the exercise, and they're ignoring each other. Let me see. We'd also like to set the dogs up whenever there's something that, like for Fred, he's reactive to certain sounds. So we can use the same counter conditioning technique by recreate the situation. Now when we do this, we want to lower the intensity. So we would either control the environment, so we turn down the volume, increase the distance, some way to make or take away elements so Fred can focus on just one thing at a time. If there's like a sound on the TV, record it on our DVR, practice it over and over. Now this is the one where I like to squish the treat and let the dog chew on it like this while it's hearing the sound of a dog barking on TV or whatever it is that he's reactive to. Remember, when your dog has a problem, look at this situation. How can I, first of all, identify what the dog's trying to accomplish. And the barking dog, I'm trying to make the barking dog go away. Okay, so now I know what the dog's motivation is. Now how can I help the dog practice that behavior or that activity? I like to try to break it down into small individual steps and practice the first step and practice that step over and over with lower intensity of the other steps until the dog proceeds the way that I want for that first step. Then I move to the second step and do the same thing there. Eventually I've done all the steps individually and the dog knows the behavior to expect, and then and then I can recreate it with all of them together or with more of a real world situation by turning up the intensity, and the dog is still able to perform how we want them to. Speaking of which, we want to simulate cooking in the kitchen. So we can teach the dogs and practice that they cannot go in the kitchen while we're preparing food. The rest of the time they can go in there, but not when we're preparing food. Let me see, we'd also like to start feeding the dogs with a little bit more structure. One at a time. As soon as the dog walks away from their bowl, we pick up the bowl, dump it. It's important to put the empty bowl back down. Don't pick up the whole bowl. And then that dog leaves the area, and then the other dog comes in, and the other dog gets to eat from their own bowl. And again, as soon as they leave any food in the bowl, we pick it up and dump it, put that empty bowl back down. You eat when the humans tell you to eat, or you don't eat again until the next meal. And remember to have the humans eat something first. Anything that takes 5 or more bites. Now, if you're going to actually eat dinner, it'd be better to feed them after dinner, but some people's schedules that doesn't accommodate, or we're going to go out to eat. I love how he's sitting there looking at you. And so if that's the case, just grab a chip or a cracker, something where you can eat 5 or more bites. I'm probably leaving some things out, but the guardians should know, as anybody who's watching this, if you're one of my clients, I always give people my personal cell phone number, and I want them to call or text me if they have questions or problems after the session. I don't care if it's 6 hours from now or 6 years from now. Usually I can help modify what we went over the phone and without needing a second visit. All right, that is the roadmap to success for Fred and Olive. Remember, everything that you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.